Hi guys, it's Editing Rianne here. I thought I'd jump on real quick right at the start of this video in that I've actually decided to split this video into two parts because I'm a waffler. No jokes. There's just so much to cover on this topic. So in this first video, I'm going to talk about what Fiverr is and some of the pros that I have found and what I've used them for that worked really well. And then in part two, we're going to look at some of the things that didn't work out, some things to watch out for, and also I'm going to give you some handy tips and some ideas on how you can get some services for free at reduced costs rather than those really expensive traditional publishing costs. So stick with me for part one and then I'll see you in part two. I'm going to switch over to the other Rianne now. Hi guys, I'm Rianne Edwards and I'm a young adult paranormal and fantasy author. And today I know that I'm about to open up a can of worms because I'm going to talk about Fiverr. So the problems with Fiverr and why I ultimately use them. So if you're interested, stick around and let's find out. Okay, I am sure most of us have heard about Fiverr, but just in case you haven't, they are a website that allows you to hire freelancers to complete a variety of different services. So for authors, you can find people on there to help you with your book cover, your editing, beta reading, formatting, social media, website design. I could go on, the list is quite long. There is a lot of help on Fiverr for pretty much any need you might need. In fact, the other day I saw some things on SEO and you can have people that can look up your SEO and give you reports on how your website is doing and yeah, exactly, all sorts. So, but the main thing with Fiverr is that anyone can sign up. So you don't have to be part of like a union or a guild or anything like that. Anyone can sign up, anyone can be a seller. So that's probably where a lot of the issues come from with people when they talk negatively about Fiverr. And there are negative things about Fiverr. This is not a video saying Fiverr is amazing, go and use Fiverr. There are caveats and there are pros and there are cons that we are going to talk about. So let's dive into today's content. So if you want to be a seller on Fiverr, this is what their website actually says. Fiverr is the world's largest marketplace for digital services. If you have a talent or skill, you can share it with our buyer community and make money while you're at it. Whether you are a graphic designer, programmer, content writer, translator, or voiceover artist, Fiverr has the place for you. And as a buyer, use Fiverr to easily hire freelancers for your projects. There it is in a nutshell. My car alarm goes off in the heat and it's very hot. So obviously there can be issues if any old Tom, Dick or Harry can sign up, but it's because of this that the prices are low, or they can be low, and the vast majority of people who use Fiverr are using them to connect with freelancers for a cost that they can manage. So let's talk about that big elephant in the room, money. So cost is very, very important and we have to keep our costs down. And if you are self-publishing in the sort of the author world, you are at a disadvantage. You do not have the sort of the big publishing companies or whoever you're publishing with helping you with those costs. You don't often have to pay for those costs up front. That comes out after. So you know, there is that disadvantage for us, and nobody is arguing the fact that having a professional cover and getting your book edited are two of the best things you can do for your book. I do not want to be saying don't do those things because they are incredibly important. However, we have to be realistic. What can you afford? So this is where Fiverr comes in. Okay, so money is important. Getting your book professionally edited and with a good cover is important, but if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. I mean, some of the costs for getting your book edited can cost upwards of £1,000, if not more, pounds or dollars, whichever currency you're in. You are talking a lot of money, and I know I just can't justify that right now because I'm nowhere near bringing anything in to cover those costs. Us indies have to be sort of incredibly lucky. And why do I say lucky? Because sometimes with Fiverr it's all about lucking out. I have lucked out a couple of times, and I have also been, well, let's just say I've been less than lucky on some things. So let's talk about those. So I'm going to talk about editing first because it seems to be one of the biggest costs for people publishing their writing. And there's different types of editing. I'm not going to go into them in too much detail. That's not what this video is about. But most of the time, if you've got a book that's mostly well put together, most readers can skip over those few mistakes or not even notice that they're there because of the story. So it is important to get that editing in. And this is where I say, unless you can't afford it, and then we go to Fiverr. So how do I use Fiverr for editing? Okay, confession time, guys, beta reading. So I actually paid somebody on Fiverr to beta read the second book in the Aphora duology, my debut novel. It was the first time I'd done something like that. I didn't do that for book one. I didn't get anyone to read book one apart from like a friend. And if I'm being honest, she was like a developmental editor. I got an 11-page report, people, an 11-page report. So she was very thorough, very, very, very thorough, and very nice considering when I look back how bad that draft was when she read it. Anyway, so she did help me improve book two, and I have had people say that book two was a definite improvement on book one, and that's why. Ultimately, I have taken book one and book two down to fix it. You cannot see the problems that are with that duology anymore. I will be fixing it and putting it back up there, but it was for book two the first time I got her to do that. And as I said, it wasn't just that yes I liked it, no I didn't. It was really thorough. She went into the plot, the characters, she went into the story building, sort of the magic premises and stuff like that. I had a lot of contradictions. That's because I didn't plan. I've said this many times before. Aphora was my massive learning curve with that because I need to plan. So yeah, but she charged about, I think I want to say about £60 for the word count that I was working on. £60 is a lot better than 600. So of course £60 wins when you don't have the kind of capital, and £600 would be good going. So I got that back from her, and it turns out she also does copy editing. So again, I know some people get confused between line and copy editing, but I'll tell you what she does for me. She finds and fixes like my typos, my tense work is probably where I have the most amount of mistakes. My tenses, any spelling mistakes, grammar, things like that. She's forever fixing up my speech because I forget how to write speech when I'm in the middle of writing. She does fix some word choices and things like that, but she doesn't go into depth about like the syntax and the sentence structure beyond basic making sense. I think that would more come under line editing, which is a lot more in detail. Now with this person, I did look up her seller biography, seller whatever page thing that comes up. And you know, she has an English language degree. She is American. I scoured her reviews. There were a lot of English authors on there. And actually I found it quite helpful because she's been able to tell me things about American audiences, which whilst I did know because I read a lot of American books, it was good to sort of get that from an author's standpoint rather than just a reader standpoint. So it was quite helpful. It was really interesting to see that. And there's no doubt that she polishes that script up for me, and it wouldn't be as good without her. Now, would a professional several £100 editor do better? Maybe, I don't know, but I have to work with the budget that I have. And I bet there are editors out there who are cringing and wanting to throw things at me. And I understand, I get it. Editors are worth their salt. But when you are trying to publish yourself, you have to think, where can I make adjustments? And editing is really important. I didn't want the Bloodline Alliance series to go through without any editing like I did with the first Aphora book. But I had to understand that I had limitations, and this is the best I could do with the budget that I had, and I did luck out. She is very good. And I just want to come back to the beta reading thing. So in principle, you shouldn't pay for beta reading. I understand that, but I was nervous as hell trying to find somebody to read. So I felt like paying somebody would be a better thing for me. Turned out all right. But yeah, in principle, you shouldn't pay for beta reading. But as I said, her services, it was more like a developmental edit. Honestly, it was amazing, and it really helps to push my story along. In fact, for book 2, I completely rewrote the first half because of her feedback and what she said, and it's brilliant. And so she is now beta read. I call it developmental editing, but she's now beta read 4 of my books, and each time I can tell from the feedback that I am improving and getting better, and she's bringing more things in for me to look at, which is fantastic. If she had brought everything in that I needed to look at for the most recent book she's done, when I first hired her for the second book in the Aphora duology, I probably would have just like crawled into a hole and cried and never left. I wanted to delve into that a little bit. I do use beta readers from like Facebook groups and people that I've connected to in places like Instagram and Twitter, but they are free, and I've done beta reading as well. And obviously that's a lot more casual, and it's from a reader's perspective, which is why paying for a beta reader on Fiverr, because you're paying for it, you should get more from it, you know. So I would recommend doing both. If you're going to use Fiverr for beta reading / developmental editing, then I'd also try and get your hands on some beta readers for free, utilising things like Facebook groups and your own contacts and things like that, because you need a bit of both. Cover design, oh my goodness. Okay, so that age-old saying, don't judge a book by its cover, what does everyone do? Judge a book by its cover. You are immediately going to look at a cover, and within the first second, make a judgment call on that cover. Your cover is what draws people in to read your blurb. Your blurb is what draws your readers in to read the first chapter. That should be the hook to carry on, okay? So the first thing is your cover. I designed the cover for Aphora to begin with, thinking I can do that myself. I will add a picture in here for you to see, which I don't think I did necessarily a bad job, but it's too dark. I haven't used a great font, and it doesn't really sort of mesh with the genre that I write with. So this was a young adult fantasy, urban fantasy. So that was because obviously I did that in Word, because I don't have like Adobe Photoshop, whatever that is. I don't have the skills for that either. Yes, that did not go down well. So then that's when I came across Olivia, my cover designer, on Fiverr, and she designed Aphora for me, and I will put a picture up here for you. In fact, I'm just going to cover up the screen here with what I did and then what she did. You can see the difference. It was phenomenal. So of course then I got her to do book 2 for me as well. Now, using somebody to cover design on Fiverr actually comes with a lot of problems and warnings, which I did not realise. I have heard people get really burned by cover designers on Fiverr, and I was one of the ones that just lucked out. But also I did this publishing course with Sarah Cannon. Highly recommend that, by the way, just on the side. And you know, it's down to us to make sure that the licenses that we are able to use are accurate and that we have the rights to repopulate the covers. I was like, what? So I went back to Olivia and I asked about sort of the licenses and what I can use. So very important that you look that up. I'm still not 100% sure on everything, but I think I'm just about covered for what I need, my purposes. So definitely if you are using Cover Designer from Fiverr, I would check that out. And if they're being a bit cagey with you, I definitely wouldn't use that designer. Costs, I can hear you all asking me, but what's the cost of your cover, Rianne? And I pay about $50 per cover, which is really cheap for a book cover, I know. About $50. I think it works out at just shy of £40 for if you're working with British pounds. Now, that's actually more than what her packages offer. So on Fiverr, a lot of sellers offer like a basic package, a standard package, and then like a platinum package or whatever they call it. Different prices involves different things. Now, the cost of my books are typically more than her platinum package because I have a lot more images to use. It costs more money because you need another image that you need to buy the license for, and also it's more time consuming, more effort to work all that together. Now, some of the images that I choose and how she puts them together, I don't know how she does it. And whilst I have to give her a brief and an idea and I pick out the photos that I want her to use, I do ask her so many times to use her sort of like creative license and experience to adjust anything that needs adjusting, and she has done that. So for instance, Kayla's face on the Bloodline Alliance books is not actually the face of the stock image that I picked out. It wasn't working for us, so she actually found another face and imported it on. Face transplant. Now, I would say to keep your eye out for designers that offer unlimited revisions, because if they don't, or say they just offer one revision, then you might make some changes, you're not happy with it, and then after that you have to pay for each and every revision. So off the top of my head, I'm going back and forth with Olivia on a book cover about 8 to 10 times. Probably around 8, 10's a bit extreme, but maybe around about 8 times I'm going back to change something. And this last cover, I was like, oh, I'm not happy with the hair, can you change it? And then I wasn't happy with the new hair, I was like, can you change it back? Then I was like, no, still not happy, something needs to change. And so just the hair alone went back 3 times. So it's worth looking at your unlimited revisions. Obviously not taking the Michael, but some things I think, like a book cover, you don't want to be pressured into making decisions and choices quickly. So far I've talked about 2 things, well 3 if you count the developmental editing and the line editing, but 2 sellers, I've worked with 2 sellers and I have been extremely lucky. I then thought, I've been so lucky, I may as well try my hand at something else, and I hired somebody to do a social media banner for the Aphora duology. At the time, I didn't think I would be able to do it myself, so I hired out. My luck had well and truly run out by this point. So I'm going to stop it there. Brilliant point to stop at, because we've had a lot of positive content about how I have used Fiverr. So now we're going to move on to part 2, in which I'm going to talk about some of those negative things and some things that didn't quite work out for me when I used Fiverr. So move over to part 2 and I will see you there. I suppose I should say, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will be notified of my next video, which is really important for this one because part 2 will be coming out next week. Hopefully see you there soon. Bye!